Hey everybody, we are once again back in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. We are here for another America's Rail Stations at the Minersville Pennsylvania Rail Station to talk a little bit about this history. This beautiful station that's run by the Reading and Blue Mountain and Northern. It has its own locomotive back here, which we'll show you, called Engine 113, and they have this thing, it's called Project 113, that they have restored this locomotive and they run it a couple times a year. It's a great thing to experience. Come along, let's check out what else is here. I'm gonna switch this up because I'm so used to doing shorts, but I now just sort of do it vertically. So Railway Restoration Project 113, Minersville, PA, owner operator, American Locomotive Company. I'm not even gonna attempt to say that, but this is from 1923. You can just see what impressive. You get to see these locomotives like right up close here. Number 113. I'm gonna make a step down here, not hurt myself. There's just something about the smells of these locomotives. It's got the smell of coal and wood. Minersville Station. But yeah, they take this car as well, and several times a year they do a couple cool Christmas tours with this, and then they did this community days. I don't know how new that is, but like I said, Lewis was able to make it to that. At some point I would like to make it here with you guys so you guys can ride on this train and take that trip. There's a couple of the different really neat community days with Tamaqua Station, Port Clinton, Schuylkill Haven, all these different stations that they do these different types of runs, different types of trains. Here you get to see the Minersville Station from the back. And as well, you can look down at the tracks and just think about what all this rail station has seen over the years. I believe this particular station was built in the early 1900s, but I will get the exact information for you guys. And then the rail lines that this was actually part of. This train that they bought was actually originally part of the Jersey Central lines. Wound out buying it, restoring it, and they keep it going for the public to enjoy the old steam locomotives. So as always, I want to say thanks everybody for coming along, and we'll have more information here in the rest of the video. Thanks everybody. We'll see you all about town. So this is one of those stations. We've done Lycans, which had an extraordinary amount of history, like almost too much. It was great, but they just throw a lot at you. But others, like this one here in Minersville, not a ton of history. These photographs here that you're going to see in the next little bit, they're from 1914, shortly after this station was built. It is not the first station. It's actually one of four. And there was one, the original station, passenger station, at least that I can find, was for the Mine Hill and Schuylkill Haven Railroad, which eventually would have been bought out by the Reading Railroad, which is for this station was Reading Railroad. And two more, one for the Lehigh Valley Railway, and then another one for Reading Railroad, which I'm assuming was either a freight station or something else. So to reiterate, I'm having a hard time nailing down when the first railways would have come through. Like I said, the first railway that seemed to have been there was the Mine Hill and Schuylkill Haven Railroad, which eventually I would assume got bought up by the Reading Railroad, which is what the current station that's there was, a Reading Railroad station. But the earliest date I can find is 1875, but a lot of stuff in that area would have been as early as 1840, certainly by the 1850s. So there probably was something before. The station would eventually, like I said, shut down late 30s, I think 1939. And there was still like coal traffic. I think there's even some stuff to today. And then, of course, certainly the Reading and Blue Mountain Northern operates out of this station with engine 113 that they operate several times a year. Whether it's Christmas, I think there's one in May. Lewis from Simply Explo Venturing actually went and rode on that. So he does have a video of that. But it really is one of those things that there just is not a ton of information, and you just are sort of going off of what you can find. But this particular station was built beginning in 1930 or 1911 and then finished in 1913. Operated till about 1939. It served a couple of different uh, things that it did, like business wise, including it finished up in the 1980s as a bakery. I believe it was a bakery through into the late 80s, and then after that it just was sort of abandoned. It was bought by the Reading and Blue Mountain Northern. They completely refurbished it, and they own it today. But it's definitely a place we want to get into at some point, just because of how neat it is. But the other stations are, like I said, there's another Reading Railroad station. That one most likely was probably a freight station. Uh, the original station from 1875 is over on, I think, the north side of Seltzer Avenue at Penn Street. That was the original location for the original thing. There was also a Lehigh Valley rail station somewhere. I'm guessing that was probably a freight station because that's probably the one that was primarily coal traffic, but I just haven't been able to find the information. But really, really neat station. It was a complete shocker of a surprise when I found it. I just remember going through Minersville, and I was going through to do a video on the Pottsville Maroons and a couple historic markers. And I sort of saw this structure there. I was like, that really looks like the architecture that they would normally have for these brick rail stations. So I went down there, and then shockingly, to my surprise, there's also a whole steam engine 113 that's there. I was just completely unaware of, but it's a very, very cool venture there. What they do, and it's a cool place to visit. Look in the windows, and like I said, at some point we'll get in there to check out the inside. Maybe we'll find some more history on it as well. But as always, I want to say thanks for coming along on another adventure, and we'll see you all about town.